Okay, any moment. Apologies for the wait. Is everybody signed up for the CEMR 70th anniversary this Thursday? Show of hands. Yeah, excellent. It's a big week at CEMR. Looks like Commissioner Dalli is connected.
Yes, hello.
So welcome, Commissioner.
Hi. Oh, no.
Well, I think we can start now. So welcome everyone to this first important meeting of the year and of the week, a very intense week for CMR. We will be celebrating our 70th anniversary this Thursday, but we are happy and excited to start the excitement of the week with this meeting, which has an important meaning for us in CMR. So, welcome, Commissioner. It is a pleasure to have you with us for this dialogue. I'm sorry, my throat is a little bit, I got a cat in my throat. But let me also mention that we are not only celebrating the 70th anniversary of CMR this year, but we are also celebrating the 15th anniversary of the European Charter on Equality of Women and Men in Local Life. The celebration will be in May, but we want to take this momentum of this year to address some important issues related to equality, diversity, and this is a great start of the year. So it's also a start for our new committee on equality of women and men in CMR with a new chair who I'm happy to welcome also, Silvia Battardi, I hope I pronounced your name all right, who has taken the lead of this committee after a few years of chairing by our colleague from Sweden, and I know that Sweden and Salah will remain very active in the committee, of course, as many of our associations are. So just a quick note for you, Commissioner, to tell you a little bit what we are in CMR. The Council of European Municipalities and Regions is the federative associations of national associations of local and regional governments, representing altogether 60 national associations from 41 countries, so larger than the European Union. But altogether, we are the voice of 130,000 cities, towns, and regions across Europe, including in your country, Malta, with the Maltese Associations of Local Governments, which I'm sure you're familiar with. CMR has been active for a long time on rule of law, democracy, local democracy, and also on gender equality. As early in the 1980s, elected women noticed that the gender balance was not really respected in our organization, and they wanted to raise that issue and had a first important conference in Pisa in Italy in 1983, gathering several hundreds of women elected all across Europe. And that was the start of a journey for us that led us to become now and to be at the moment the only and first international organization with equal participation and equal representation in our statutory bodies. CMR has conducted several studies on women in politics, the first one in 2008 on local politics, but we renewed this performance a couple years ago, or last year even, proposing a study and a report on women in politics at all levels of governance in Europe, from the local to the European level. And I'm sure there will be some exchanges on this. Through the creation also of an observatory on the implementation of the Equality Charter that was launched in 2012 and developed with indicators in 2015 to support the implementation of the Charter by cities and local governments, and to help them monitor their progress along the year. At the start of this new decade, we also witness a worrying trend of increasing backlash against women's rights, gender equality, political harassment and violence, and of course, in the recent month, the impact of COVID on domestic violence and new challenges. I would mention also that, and I know we have the presence of colleagues also from Poland with us, that some state governments are challenging women's rights in some countries, including contesting the right for cities to implement the European Charter on equality, and that will be an issue for us as well. However, we believe that we have some reasons to be hopeful with the strong support and political commitment to equality from the first ever female Commission's president, Ursula von der Leyen, and we heard her commitment into this field of activities. Gender equality is back on the agenda of the European Union, and more important than ever, your presence here today, Commissioner Dalli, is a testament for us of this engagement. So now I'm honored and happy to welcome the EU's first dedicated Commissioner for Equality, Ms. Helena Dalli, to this exchange with Europe's local champions for equality. I'm happy to hand you the floor, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thank you for this introduction. And as you say, equality now has its place as a standalone portfolio within the Commission, and I'm very happy to be with you today. Obviously, you can't have an activity in these days without going into the coronavirus pandemic, which has brought to the fore existing inequalities in our societies, also in terms of gender inequality. As you rightly pointed out, that women have been affected in some areas disproportionately by the social and the economic impact of this pandemic. So many women work in sectors such as healthcare, hospitality, and retail, and women's efforts have allowed our societies to continue functioning during this pandemic, and women have also continued shouldering much of the responsibilities at home also, given the closure of schools, childcare, and other domestic support facilities. So we have seen that this has actually reinforced long-standing gender inequalities in unpaid domestic and care work. More women are also at risk of losing their jobs since they are overrepresented in lower paid sectors and often with precarious working conditions. So while the pandemic has underlined the indispensable role of women in the labor market, it has also emphasized the social and economic vulnerability of women. So today's discussion gives the opportunity to speak on the gendered impact of the pandemic and the gender responsive measures required for the recovery phase. The Commission's actions at EU level and the European municipalities and regions' actions are closely linked, and we must therefore enhance our cooperation. One of the first deliverables of the gender equality strategy for 2020-2025, which we launched last year, is to tackle inequality in pay between women and men in European companies and public organizations. I will shortly present a new EU directive introducing binding measures on pay transparency. So the proposal will make sure that workers have the necessary information and enforcement tools to detect and claim gender-based pay discrimination. It will also help employers to address possible discrepancies in pay and remove unconscious bias in pay structures. Another priority is to tackle violence against women, which you mentioned. The pandemic has reminded us that home is not a safe space for everyone. So emerging data shows that violence against women and children in the home has increased since the outbreak of the coronavirus and lockdown measures. So I have thus called on EU member states to make sure that gender-sensitive measures are in place to support and protect victims of violence. And I welcome the efforts put into place at local and regional level across the EU. For instance, member states have declared support and protection services for victims as essential services. They launched awareness-raising campaigns and set up new channels to assist victims. They used public buildings as alternative shelter places. So the access to prevention, protection, and care services remains more important than ever during this pandemic. This is why EU accession to the Istanbul Convention and combating gender-based violence remains a high priority of the European Commission. The Istanbul Convention is the benchmark for international standards for tackling gender-based violence. So the Commission will do all it can to conclude EU accession, but if this is not possible, we are preparing alternative ways to strengthen the EU legal framework on gender-based violence. Tackling the aftermath of the coronavirus pandemic will be a challenge for all of us. The new EU budget will continue to support equality-related projects, including civil society organizations at the local and regional levels. So we must continue our common work and ensure that a response to the coronavirus is clearly gender sensitive. Therefore, the actions set out in the gender equality strategy are more relevant than ever. So the focus on gender mainstreaming across EU policies and a strong intersectional approach at all levels is key for the strategy's implementation. This approach is important at both EU level and in each of the local and regional contexts too. So let us use this crisis as an opportunity to do things differently. Let us ensure that the recovery of Europe is done with a true equality approach. I thank you for this opportunity to have this conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. And thank you for your words. I know that the Commission has put a strong emphasis on equality, the new Commission, and this is very welcome. I'm happy now to ask our chair of the Standing Committee, to present briefly also what the committee is doing, what are our priorities, and how we can cooperate with you. Sylvia?
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, dear all. Good morning, dear Commissioner Dalli. Thank you for taking the time to meet us today. I think we can agree about the great progress that has been made on gender equality in Europe over the years. But as we all can see, inequalities still persist. One just has to look at the pay gap that hovers around 15%, the shocking stories of violence and harassment suffered by women because of their gender. We have heard of many during the coronavirus pandemic, and while the share of women on municipal councils has risen to 29% compared to 23% 10 years ago, will still only account for 15% of measures in Europe, according to the CEMR's 2019 study. CEMR Standing Committee for Equality works to close these gaps, tackle inequalities, discrimination, and disadvantage. Our mission for this decade is to promote gender equality at European and international level as a transversal issue. We advocate for gender equality to be addressed in its own right, and for equality of women and men to be assessed and addressed in all policy areas, including budgets. And to achieve this, CEMR and this standing committee will first look inward, strengthen gender equality and gender mainstreaming within our organization and its member association. Second, increase awareness and support for the European Charter for Equality and the vital role local and regional governments play in advancing gender equality. And third, raise up local voices for equality and contribute to development, the implementation of the European gender equality strategies. Share our knowledge and expertise in Europe and with our partners at international level. And finally, actively promote equality between women and men in the decision-making process at all levels, particularly through our studies and surveys. The mission of objectives are the result of nearly 40 years of progressive development of the gender equality portfolio within CEMR, thanks to lobbying started by local elected women and successive contribution of the Standing Committee for Equality, which was created in 1992. It's my honor to continue to carry this torch and tradition in CEMR. And during my mandate, our activities will include the celebrating 15 years of the European Charter for Equality, starting a review of the Charter's sources and areas for a future development to keep it useful to cities and regions for another 15 years into the future. Stronger, impactful communication to make local gender equality actions and initiatives visible, and to encourage more local and regional governments to do their part and put gender equality as a top priority in their local agendas, including having a gender-sensitive response to COVID-19, and continuing to provide a space for politicians to exchange about their national situation and experiences, to transfer good practice in equality, and to monitor EU policies. Sometimes the role of local governments in promoting and achieving gender equality isn't immediately recognized, and that can be a missed opportunity. Local government is uniquely positioned and motivated. Their work is driven by responding to the needs of all people in their community and providing key services, and they are responsible for. So why do we, CEMR and Local Governments Association, care about gender equality? Local and regional governments are the closest level of government to the people. It's the best position for understand the needs and interest of the citizens. We have shared responsibility with the EU and national governments for the implementation and promotion of international and European policy framework, such as the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, the Beijing Platform for Action, the US Strategy for Gender Equality, the Istanbul Convention, to name a few. And we can also take action in our areas for competence to reduce inequality and mainstreaming gender equality in our territories, in our role as employers, planners, and public services providers. This is why we are so excited to exchange with you today, to share our success and our inspiration, and to explore how we can mutually support one another in a common goal, achieving a gender equal future. Thank you, Commissioner. I leave the floor to Jamie.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you so much. And thank you to Commissioner Dalli for being with us. Since we're running on a little bit of a different time schedule than originally planned, I propose to actually have the questions addressed to the Commissioner from our elected representatives first, so that we make sure we can really have that conversation before she has to go at 3:45. And then in terms of the sharing of the good practices around the charter, gender-based violence, health centers in Poland, and our work on challenging gender stereotypes, let's tackle that towards the end with what time we have left. And if we run out of time, we can, of course, share that information with the Commissioner by email. So let's privilege this space for exchange. And first on our list for questions to pose to the Commissioner is Magdalena Czarynska-Jachim, Deputy Mayor of Sopot in Poland. Deputy Mayor, I'd like to give you the floor to address your question to the Commissioner.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody, dear Commissioner. So first of all, I would like to say something which is known, I hope, because there were a lot of press releases recently from the situation in Poland, that the national ideology presented by our government is totally opposite to our majority of mayors thinking about women, human rights, gender equality, and LGBT and other things. And unfortunately, the main role of women, according to this government ideology, is to have children and stay at home. I have to say that less than 5% of larger Polish cities is governed by the mayors belonging to the governmental party. But we as a mayor, we have less and less possibilities and money to implement our policy and to promote the human rights, the gender and the equality. For example, in very important area, education, we as a local authorities, we organize the schools, but we have no possibility to influence the educational program. So we can only make some additional lessons, and we have a big opposite from Ordo Iuris, of course, and from government. We can observe that, our government support women in being mother. Okay, it's okay and it's good, but in the same time, does nothing to support women to return to work and to self-development. So this ideology is visible not only in national media, in education, but, and this is my question to Ms. Commissioner, in the distribution of central and European funds. For example, funds for protect women against the violence in the family are donated to the organizations supported by Ordo Iuris. And for example, anti-discrimination funds are being distributed to the organization, Catholic organization, with the arguments that the Catholics are discriminated in Poland, which is totally stupid. And at the same time, the government has reduced the amount of money, European money, for regional program. And this money normally is distributed by the local regional authorities. And I have to say that in our region, Pomerania region, it's 40% less than in previous period. 40% less for program, for education, for and other things. So, for concluding, and I say in the name of the majority of mayors in Poland, our main and very important request to the European Commission is to decentralize the distribution of European funds to local authorities, because it will help us to implement our policies in accordance with European values. If not, we have no possibility, no money, and the centralization of our country is more and more strong, and it's only one party is, that important. Thank you very much, and please support us because it's not a good time for us here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Commissioner Dalli, the floor is to you.
Wouldn't it be better to take more questions and then I'll answer in the end?
Oh, sure, no problem, no problem. So our next question, yeah, great idea. Our next question comes from our elected representatives in the Ukraine, Ms. Irina Yarmolenko. Irina, would you like to take the floor?
Good evening.
We hear you.
No? Yeah. Thank you for this opportunity. I am preparing my PhD on the sphere of gender strategy on my country, and as well I am local elected person, and a few months ago I had election, and a lot of my colleagues from different cities had this campaign too. It was kind big approach for us because we feel this bullying, this social media, this is not very nicely conversation and so on. So it's kind of be challenges to be with this bullying, with this social media, with these difficulties and violence, psychological violence. According to that, we have this gender action plan 3, how it links to European strategy on gender equality. I was happy to work with these documents and read them, but I want to hear real voice from real authors of these impressive documents.
Well put, Irina. Thank you so much for making the link to GAP 3. So looking forward to hearing the Commissioner's comment on that. Third, we move to Mr. Emil Goberg, Regional Councillor of Östergötland in Sweden and our Vice Chair of the Standing Committee, who has a question on gender and COVID.
Thank you, Jamie, and thank you so much, Commissioner, for participating. The COVID-19 crisis and its consequences, as you said, have a clear gender perspective as they affect women and men differently and have highlighted existing inequalities and shortcomings with regard to gender equality and women's rights. Women have at the forefront of the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. Women and girls will be affected disproportionately in the short, medium, and long term. The impacts range from a worrying increase in gender-based violence, as you also mentioned, and harassments, unpaid and unequal care, and domestic responsibilities through restricted access to SRHR and to massive economic and work impact for women, particularly healthcare workers, caregivers, and workers in other feminized and precarious sectors. Specific measures to counterbalance this are needed. Recovery programs or transition funds should be allocated in a gender-balanced manner. Austerity measures have been proven harmful to women's rights and gender equality in the past. The problems and challenges facing humanity are global, and they have to be dealt with at the local level. It is at here that the concrete work for gender equality is being done. A gender-sensitive response to the pandemic for the local and regional level is needed. In your opinion, how can that be done? Thank you.
Thank you, Emil. And we had one comment, a question in the chat coming from the head of office for our Austrian Association, Simona Volesa. She asks, gender mainstreaming as a condition for all EU policy areas during MFF and Next Generation EU negotiations was put on the agenda by the European Parliament and the Commission delegations, but then dropped in place for equality between women and men. Why did the Commission's delegation not insist on more gender mainstreaming? So that is the last question that I think we'll be able to cover for now. I'm sorry, Marta?
I also have a question. I don't know whether you can see it and whether that's the method of asking. I raised my hand.
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. I did not see. Go ahead and pose your question, and then we'll hear the responses from the Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will briefly refer to the issue already mentioned by the Secretary General Frederic Vallier, to whom I'm grateful for this warm welcome. Thank you very much. Despite this 15-year-long history of the European Charter for Equality of Women and Men in Local Life, it is a relatively new topic in Poland. The City Council of Poznań passed a resolution on adopting the Charter in February last year. Unfortunately, the supervisory authority, which represents state government in the region, that is the Voivode, repealed this resolution, claiming that the Council had violated and exceeded its competence by adopting this Charter. We, of course, filed a complaint with the Regional Administrative Court. Unfortunately, the court agreed with the Voivode's decision for reasons explained very well already by Magda Czarzyńska-Jachim. Last October, we lodged a cessation complaint with the Supreme Administrative Court, and we expect we might wait for the court's decision for up to 2 years. This political situation in Poland and this example of Poznań, of what may happen when you adopt the charter, when you want to try to do it right by the City Council resolution, shows that it might be difficult for local governments in Poland to effectively adopt and implement the charter. Unless city mayors decide to sign the charter as a totally symbolic gesture, which might finally lead or might not lead to developing and adopting gender equality policies. So in order to consolidate efforts and work out feasible, plausible, viable solution to this problem, the board of the Association of Polish Cities has recently launched a new commission, Human Rights and Equal Treatment Commission, and this was a joint initiative proposed by Magda Czarzyńska-Jachim and myself, and this new commission is to convene next month, I believe. We will work out on a joint strategy concerning adopting the charter by Polish cities. And here is my request and my question. We will most probably request the Commission here, but also Madam Commissioner, we will come to this forum explaining our solution, and we would like to ask you probably whether it's possible or not to get like a stamp, like an approval that this is also feasible, and we might need high-level political support to overcome this challenge that I presented. And the question is, can we count on you? Thank you.
Hey, big questions. So Commissioner Dalli, in the minutes that we have left with you, I'll let you tackle these really excellent questions from our members, sometimes a little bit challenging. Yes.
Thank you.
Love to hear from you.
Yes, thank you for these questions and suggestions also. In fact, I want to start by saying that I am taking note on the proposal to decentralize EU funds. So I will discuss this matter with my colleagues working in this area. To me, this proposal makes a lot of sense. I understand why you are making this proposal. So I hope that we can, proceed in this direction. With regards to the gender equality strategy and action plan 3, these work hand in hand. And already in the strategy, we addressed external issues, but in GAP 3, we expand this further and elaborate on how we carry on gender equality work around the world. So with regards to the work in the pandemic, we worked incessantly to make the link between equality and the response to the pandemic. So it is crucial, as otherwise we have a repeat of the previous crisis, and it's always the women, the poor, and the marginalized who suffer most. So we put equality at the heart of the SURE program and our response to the pandemic. And we also included a link to the rule of law in the MFF, as I am sure you have followed. Again, another question on Poland. I am aware of the difficult situation in Poland, and I engaged on a number of occasions with civil society and with parliamentarians, and I am very concerned about the developments, and I want to assure you that I will act whenever the treaty gives me the power to do so. So really, it is most that we can do. What I can assure you is that you put your mind at rest, that there is nothing which is within my power to do that I will not do. I will definitely do all that I can, but as you know, also there are member state competencies, and there the Commission cannot interfere, cannot go in. But as far as the treaty allows me, I will do all that I can in these situations. So I am not aware, however, of the particular cases which were referred to, and I am not in a position to discuss the specifics of these cases. But if you want to tell me more about these realities and what we can do as a commission about them, please feel free. I want to do all that I can in these situations, as you have seen with regards to stopping funds and all that. I did all that was possible from the commission side to be done. But obviously we don't know everything that is going on, and so please do come forward with particular situations where you think that we have the competence to do things, to change things. We will definitely do it. As was mentioned, this is the first time that the Commission has a standalone portfolio for equality, and there is a lot that we are doing and changing, whether it is LGBTIQ, whether it's women's rights, whether it is persons with disability, whether it is racism. We have a strategy on all these areas and action plans on all these areas. We also have legislative proposals, but we need to work hand in hand with you, because you are the experts on your areas in your member states. You know, you are there directly, and you are in close contact with our citizens, so you can give us the best information, because you are the closest link to our citizens. So that is why I really appreciate your invitation for me to listen to you today, to have this conversation, and I hope that we will have more conversations of this kind. And I promise you that I will act upon what you have raised today, but please feel free to refer to me if there are specific cases where you think that the Commission can work on. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Dalli. It's been really a great experience. I know you must leave due to other engagements. Ask everybody to turn on their camera briefly to take a family photo before Silvia Beraldi officially thanks the Commissioner and bids farewell. So everybody who can, cameras on, your best gender equality smile. Okay, I'll count down. So when I get to 3, I will take the photo. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and maybe my colleagues can take some as well. 1, 2, 3. Super. So Silvia, to you to bid the Commissioner farewell on behalf of the Standing Committee.
Yeah, Commissioner Dalli, I hope that you have found this conversation fruitful and inspiring. I hope it's clear, if we're not already convinced, that you can count on us, Europe's local and regional governments, as your allies to achieve a union of equality during your historic mandate. Going forward, your committee is optimistic. Our committee is optimistic that with the new European programming period, there will be increased support from European Commission on local initiatives to achieve the goals in the Europe strategy for gender equality strategy and the Europe Action Plan for gender equality and women's empowerment in external relations. Thank you again for this opportunity, and we look forward to strengthening our cooperation with you and your team. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I just say a few words before the Commissioner leaves us? First of all, thank you very much for your presence. But since we are going to celebrate the 15th anniversary of the Charter, I would propose that, first of all, we invite Commissioner Dalli to this celebration that will be in May, and maybe symbolically to support our colleagues from Poland and from other countries where it sometimes is challenging to engage into program of gender equality, we could ask her to symbolically sign the charter and invite also mayors from Poland to join the charter all together at the occasion of this celebration. Of course, we don't know if what will be possible to do, of course, if we will have the opportunity to meet physically or organize an event online, but if we can, I think that could be a good input and a good support to our colleagues from Poland.
Thank you, Frederick, and thank you again, Commissioner Dalli. You can be sure that we'll be in touch with you and keep you updated on what we're doing and find the best opportunities to enhance our collaboration. Thank you again, and have a wonderful afternoon. Bye-bye. Goodbye, everybody else. Thank you so much for participating. It was wonderful to have you all here. It was a great exchange. I don't know if you wish to say anything else amongst ourselves before we meet again on the 8th of March. Yes, Marta, I know we wanted to look how to follow up on this very serious situation you shared about in Poland and Saturday.
So I would like to thank you, Secretary General. I think we will come up with a proposal of a joint, be it symbolic, but since now